Are you ready to run your short-term rental business like a superhost? If so, look no further than Guestie for Hosts. Guestie for Hosts offers listing management for all three major OTAs, Airbnb, Booking.com, and VRBO. With Guestie for Hosts, you can create a branded direct booking website in minutes. I've been able to hit 61% direct bookings in my business and automate daily tasks such as communication with cleaners and communication with guests. Click the link in the show notes to get an additional $20 off your first month.
Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
Of Live,
Let
Thrive. What is up, Myka? Man.
I am good on this beautiful Friday. How you doing, my man?
Oh, pretty good, man. Another crazy week of the Airbnb life. You know how we do. All right, man. This is episode 197 of your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, Uber, Lyft, all of that share economy stuff, fun stuff, podcast in the world, coming at you from Arlington and Fort Worth, Texas.
And Dallas, Texas.
And
Argentina.
And Buenos Aires, Argentina. Yes, sir. We got the whole family, the whole Live, Let, Thrive family on the show today, Myka.
Yeah, who we got, Steve?
We got Federico
How you doing,
Zimmerman
guys?
from Buenos Aires, Argentina, my partner in crime, and Argis Reynolds. And we got downtown Mike Brown up in this mug.
How y'all
What's up,
doing?
Mikey B?
Doing great. Glad to be here. Happy to be here.
We'll see how this mashup goes, man. It's good to have you all on. What's new,
This is
Mikey
gonna be
B?
fun.
So, man,
It's Friday, by the way. It's Friday, so we're gonna have some drinks. I hope you don't mind. Salud.
By the way-
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
And there's no coffee in
Cheers,
here.
guys.
So, yeah.
Hey, not only are we having drinks, but we have a drinks for a reason. Steve and Federico got some good stories for us today. So,
Let Federico
Oh,
tell the
man.
story.
we're gonna start the podcast off with you two today. So y'all need a drink. As a matter of fact, next time I see you, I'll buy you a drink.
Yeah, let me get it from the bottle straight.
Straight from the bottle.
So what's going
Okay.
on in the artist world, man?
Go
All
on,
right,
Fede.
so we got our account suspended. If any of our clients are listening right now, your listens are fine. Don't worry, it's just ours. And it's getting resolved very, very fast. But it's a lot of lessons learned after what happened. All right. So long story short, we had an inspection at a building. We issued a message to every guest staying in those buildings, actually, because it's two buildings, telling them, tomorrow there's gonna be an investor's inspection. Please let them in. Sorry for the inconvenience. One of the guests answered like, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to be in the apartment." So we arranged with management to get it rescheduled. One of the guests never answered the message, or our mistake there. First of all, if you ever are gonna have an inspection of a property, make sure to have a confirmation from your guest that they received the message. Anyways, next morning we get a message like, "Hey, this is inappropriate. We got someone wake us up. They came into the apartment without knocking, and they were taking pictures. This is totally unacceptable." I was surprised, that they came inside without knocking. And they were taking pictures while they were sleeping. So we sent a message to the property manager. She said, "No, actually, I knocked 3 times and no one answered. We just came inside. They woke up and then we took the pictures." Anyways, they left a review where, when guests are leaving a review, if they're gonna rate you 1 star, they're gonna have like an option like saying, was there any safety issue or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I remember as a guest that happening. So they probably did that because I saw that our review was posted in their account, but theirs is not posted in ours. But yesterday morning, I got a message from Airbnb, an email saying your account is going to be suspended for an incident. You can get in touch with us. Anyways, so all of the listings were looking at suspended, right? I didn't actually remember because it was a few weeks ago. So I didn't remember exactly what happened. I didn't know what it was about because the email didn't say. So I called resolutions first, and they say, "Well, I cannot give you information because this is being handled by the safety team." I can only see that it was a stay during these dates. So I went back to the calendar, checked, and I said, oh, okay, it was this one. I requested for the Airbnb safety team to call me back. The girl who called me, she was like, there was Nikki, man. They were like, do you have anything to report? Anything that comes to your mind? She didn't say like, hey, this happened. What is your side of your story? She was like, is there anything that happened that you would like to share with me? Like when you do something wrong at home and you need to explain to your partner what you did. It was something like that. Anyways, I'm glad that I called before because she gave me the dates and I was able to remember. I said, yeah, well, this is what happened. I explained the situation. I said, they probably knocked. Let me go to Ring camera, send you all the information. So I sent the Ring camera video where she knocked. Of course, make sure if you have a Ring camera in your listing to have it disclosed that you have a Ring camera that's recording 24/7. Make sure of that. That's very important because if you use your Ring camera and it's not disclosed in your Airbnb listing and you want to use that as a proof, it's going to backfire to you. It happened to us in the past, right? I sent the emails.
And you have to say audio and video too.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Both things. And now we're under investigation. It's going to take up to a week. I can only communicate with this person during her work hours. So I'm listing in different accounts that we have. I'm listing the listings that got suspended, just in case I'm using a slight different address, not the exact same address, just in case for now I'm creating like a B listing. What else? Yeah, and I think the biggest learning lesson here is don't put all your listings together, especially if you have some listings that you know that may be problematic. Don't put your luxury houses with your not very nice apartments in the same listing. Because basically what happened is that they only suspended the listings on that account that were created in that account, because we also have the co-host from our clients, and those are fine. Even though in my account look like suspended, they're still getting bookings and everything. But yeah, that's what happened. What do you have to say, guys?
Yeah, I was writing down a few questions. So, did they say how long your listing is going to be suspended?
She said it can take up to a week for them to give a resolution, a decision, to take a decision.
When did it happen?
So this happened on the February 15 around, but this started yesterday. So
okay, yeah, that's what I'm wondering. When did they suspend you guys?
Oh, yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay, so you got what, 7 till the 10th, right? Basically. Okay, so
most of our places are booked for the month, or almost full booked, except like 2 or 3 that we need to get a few more bookings. Of course, I started listing on VRBO. Well, we were listing VRBO, was just making sure everything was fine, because we don't pay that much attention sometimes in VRBO. Trying to list on Booking.com. Just getting new streams of bookings.
So right now, basically you're suspended on Airbnb. What are you guys doing? Like, did you create another account, like a backup account, or how are you guys going forward?
Yeah, we're spreading the listings. So I created one on my wife's name, and I put all the Houston listings there. Then I'm using the old Stevens account for some other listings. Then there was only one client that we had on our account that she had another account, and that's the other thing. So our client, she had an account since September. She never used it, right? And all of a sudden, I sign up. I put 2 listings, and I sign in and out many times. Suspicious activity. That account get blocked for security reasons. For I don't know, until they resolve. That's fine. I mean that it doesn't have any booking or anything. But it's just I open it up, made the 2 listings, and then they asked to verify the identity. She did that, and now we have to wait until the account is restored.
Okay. Now, since your listings are suspended, okay, because I'm trying to see. So they suspended your listings. You're still listed on other platforms. So what evidence did you send to Airbnb to get the things unsuspended? Did you just send them the video file of the people knocking?
I send the video files. I send the message to the guest. Just in case, I send the email from the property manager.
Okay.
What else? And just in case it was an expensive stay. It was like 2 nights, and it was a deep discount because it was a midweek. So I just refunded the stay just in case. And I sent a message to the guest saying, "Hey, we're really sorry about what happened. Just to share our side of the story. You know, I mean, this is totally unacceptable. She shouldn't have gone inside, but she did knock the door. We had another guest staying across the hallway, and we were able to reschedule the inspection because he answered to a message. We did message you. We never got a response. We thought everything was fine."
Okay. Yeah, I think y'all should get y'all account back. I mean, you have evidence. You have evidence of there. So I mean, at this point, yeah, I think y'all.
Still, if we get it back, I think my biggest lesson is, as I said, don't put all the. Do I say it right in English? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Is that what they say? Okay, it's the same thing. Don't put all your listings in one account, especially if you have a different type of listings that they don't, from houses to apartments, and not some apartments that they have constant issues.
I'm happy you bring that up because you manage my timeshares for me. So I've always said, and I've thought about that. Like, I'm going to start moving my timeshares to an account, my houses to an account, and my apartments to an account. Especially when you made a good point about the luxurious, because I'm setting up this luxurious property, lakefront property right now. And yeah, you don't want that thing shut down and all these other ones are shut down. That's a good point. Now, how are y'all going about? Because I know Airbnb, they have their little ways of looking up, the duplicate accounts. So are you using like a wife's account, Steve's account, and y'all just setting up accounts in everyone's name? Is that how everyone's doing it? Because now that's been my thought of a backup plan in case anything ever pops off.
Yeah, we're using different bank accounts. And for one of the listings, the new account, I'm using a VPN. I'm just signing into a VPN, so trying to make sure it's a different IP address. What else? But yeah, basically that. We'll see how it goes. I mean, again, I'm using a different address for the listing, so I'm changing like one number in the street address, and then I should, my checking instructions are very clear, so guests are gonna know where they have to go. I just barely modifying the street address so it doesn't match exactly to.
Man, we might have to make this episode paid for, man. There's some Airbnb Black Ops shit going on here. Go ahead,
man. I'm scared Airbnb is gonna knock my door right now. Okay, we're gonna get banned forever.
Well, here's a system we learned out of this, and we wrote a thing that says that we're gonna put in the house rules, because there's so many in our listeners. This is a valuable tip, paid for or not. This is a valuable tip. A lot of people are doing Airbnbs out of apartments and condos, right? And the apartments have the on-site management. Condos have HOAs, and all of them have access to the unit if they need to, right? With and it's in the leases, it's in the whatever HOA agreements, that they can come in there and do what they got to do and give you 24-hour notice, and you got to let them in. Or if you're not there, they'll get in. If they'll have they have the master code, the key, whatever, they can get in. And so knowing this, you better from now on, that's what we're gonna do. You better convey that to the guests that are staying at these places, right? And so you better, and so we come up with a thing that's saying, this complex does routine maintenance, and they need access to the places from time to time, and they give 24-hour notice. If they need access to the place, we will give you 24-hour notice, and you must let them in. If you decline to let them in, that is a breach of the contract, and you will be, and your list, your stay will be over, or something like that. Put it however legally you want to put it. Yeah. Your stay will be in violation, and you will have to leave. And anyways, people ain't gonna read that, whatever. So the next step is you're gonna want to message them when something like this comes up, because they did, this complex did tell us, hey, tomorrow, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna have an investor thing, investor whatever, and we're gonna take some pictures. And so they gave us a heads up, 24-hour notice. We gave our guests a heads up, and 2 of the 3 answered, and one wasn't cool with it, one was okay with it, whatever. The third one never answered. That's our bad. We should have followed up with that. So the new system, the new procedure, we're telling our VAs is always follow up until you get an answer. If you get if it's going to be through Airbnb, it's going to be through text, it's going to be phone, whatever. You need an answer from the guest. And if you don't get it, well, if you need, let's say you did it via text or a phone call, and they say, okay, yes, that's fine. Make sure you let them know. Go in through the Airbnb app and let me know that it's fine through the Airbnb app, so Airbnb can see it, everybody can see it. And if they don't do that, or they don't answer any of the messages, immediately send a message to Airbnb and send an email, send through the app or whatever support. Call them. I would even call them too and let them know this is what's going to happen tomorrow. The apartment has the right to come in there. It's in our house rules that they can come in there. And this guest is not responding. And put it on Airbnb, immediately, and have that. So that's our new system. Warn let the guests know if they don't respond. Let Airbnb know that they're not responding to the messages, and boom, I think that should be good.
I'll even take it a step further for you to help out your VA. If they can't reach them, what my VA does, just keep sending messages through the app. And and what they're doing is whenever, and this is why I don't call or text guests. If you keep a paper trail through that app, like let's say your VA waits 24 hours, no response, sends another message, 24 hours, no response, sends another message. Then Airbnb is like, and then what you do in those messages be like, hey, by the way, we haven't heard from you. The inspections tomorrow, the maintenance will come in, and then screenshot your rules of, hey, the maintenance is allowed to come in. Hey, they are going to come in. We would like to hear back from you, but if not, this is what's going to happen. Then everything's in the app, because I've gotten in trouble with Airbnb for texting and calling for shit. And I was like, forget it. I do everything. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I decline guests' phone calls. If you call me, put it in that. Put it in that. Because I don't know what you...
So what?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so what I'll do in that situation is if I call or text, or usually it's them calling or texting me, not the other way around. Because like you said, you try to do app first. Is after that conversation, I then recap in Airbnb. I'll say, hey, thank you so much for the call. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about X, Y, and Z. This is gonna happen. Thank you, so on and so forth. Same thing with the text message too, just so, like you said, that paper trail, because I think that's key.
Go ahead, Mike. Well, it's funny.
I was gonna say, we had a similar situation, and I'll keep my story super short. With a guest, and I don't know how. Maybe this is a pivot to your procedure, but tell me how you would handle this situation. So basically, we had an emergency situation where there was a flood. I think there was a pipe that burst or something that happened on the floor above our unit. Obviously in the emergency situation, maintenance has to go in to make sure they shut off the water, all that stuff, make sure everything's dry, clean, if they need to air things out, so on and so forth. So at this time when this happened, they didn't notify us that this was going on, and the tenant was not there at all. So obviously this is a very special situation. It's an emergency. It's a flood. There is no notice at that point, right? And they did two things wrong. One, when the guests got back, they were startled because when they opened the door, all the furniture was moved to one side. And they didn't leave a note or anything saying, hey, we came to do XYZ, because they had the cleaners with the air machines to, dry everything up on the floors. And the second thing, which is a huge no-no, is they left the door unlocked. The maintenance left the door unlocked. So when the guests got there, they didn't know if it was a burglary or if people were still in there or whatever. So they called the cops immediately. So they called the cops, then they called us and said, hey, this is what's going on. And the apartment complex didn't send us a message or notification, even after it happened in the portal. No call, no text. And I had to call emergency maintenance to figure out what was going on. And so in that situation, it's just being able to just kind of go through those steps, but also just like, how do you, again, it's an emergency situation. So sometimes you can't get around that. And she was really upset because she said, I'm a travel nurse, so on and so forth. I carry. So, in those situations, that could even be a liability on you, because if they come in when they're not supposed to and somebody gets shot. So, and even if somebody has an aggressive dog, because you know how they always tell you to put away your pets and all that kind of stuff. So if they don't give advance notice, or if the people don't do what they're supposed to, then their staff could get injured, right? Or hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother twist on it. This last part. So obviously, you know, there's different steps when they come in to do repairs with drywall, paint, and all that kind of stuff. They scheduled and told us in advance this next time that, hey, we're going to be in the unit XYZ, and we're going to be there basically half day. So from 8 a.m. to noon or something like that. I said, okay, great. Yeah, I immediately sent that to the guests, email, text, and in the app, all three methods. And they did respond and say, hey, okay, I got you. And this was like 3 or 4 days in advance. Now, what they did the second time is whoever contractor they had working or whatever, they came a day earlier than when they said they were going to come. So she was caught off guard again. And it just kind of cycled. She didn't call the police this time, but she did reach out to us. So it's those kinds of things. I mean, I know you can't put protection around everything, but it's just like, you know, even in these kind of situations, you kind of have to think about, you know, some audibles that you got to play to make that work. So
yeah, because right there in that situation, if she carries, right, let's say she walks in and maintenance sitting up in there and they get a gun pulled on them, that's another level of liability. Man, this really making me be like, damn, forget these apartment complexes. Because I'm like, shit, man, it's so.
We need to put a big warning for any guests that stay with us. You may find people in the apartment at any time, unexpectedly.
Oh, that would be
Don't
bad.
freak out.
But so,
anytime, not advised.
And let me kind of go right off your point, Mike, and how you said you answered the phone, like they'll call you. So today, a guest calls me. I already knew it was a guest. I declined it, right? Because I'm like, and it's one of them guests that call and then they send a message. So I already knew she was sending a message, right? And I'm happy I declined the call because the shit she would have said to me could have came back on me. She basically says, she called me. I declined it. She then says in the message, my mom's car got towed. I'm like, oh shit. But in the message, she also stated, my mom's car got towed because we took the parking pass, put it in my husband's car, and we drove it back home. And when it's sitting there, she didn't have a parking pass. So I'm like, oh, okay, so you were illegally parked. So I'm happy. If I would have took that phone call, I would have had no recollection. But unless I use your strategy, type in what we talked about inside of the app. You know what I'm saying? Right. Hey, we understand you took the parking pass. You know, so that did happen. And then I said, look, you're going to have to go down to the office to get another parking pass, you know, and the office hit me up. They're like, hey, this lady's here saying she's with your company. And I was like, yeah, she is. And they were like, okay, cool. And they were like, we're not giving her another parking hanger. We're just going to give her a temporary parking tag. And I was like, cool. So, you know, she admitted fault inside of it. But if she wouldn't have admitted that fault inside the app, then Myka, you just got your guest's car towed, you know, they were parked correctly. So it's one of those situations you do have to find out. And that is my issue with Airbnb, because Airbnb doesn't play things by a fair or just rule. They're more or less off he said, she said. Even when we were talking before we got on the show, I got someone's listing, or not listing, but their account suspended because basically they were outside my complex playing with guns after they checked out. So I just reached out to the safety department. They immediately canceled that guest's account. Are you wanting to hop into the short-term rental space but just don't know where to get started? Join our Live, Let, Thrive Facebook group to network with other like-minded investors. We have property managers, lenders, and other experienced hosts to learn from. Click the link below to join. I'll see you there. So, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing is, yeah, they were really playing with guns. They needed their listing gone, but they didn't really have evidence that they were doing this. You know what I mean? So they're taking harsh, drastic action with no evidence. It's like
evidence.
I think it's a lot has to do. I was saying that to Steve today. A lot has to do with PR.
I agree.
You know, media loves to. You know, I mean, you have a million check-ins and check-outs every day, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same with airlines when something goes on a flight. You have millions of flights, millions of stays every day, but one person gets robbed, one bad story, and it's gonna be everywhere. Mm-hmm. So you know, whenever it comes to and that's what I'm thinking. You know, the situation we're dealing with is not like maintenance, building management came inside the apartment and the guests didn't want or whatever it is. What they say is like, I was sleeping and they were taking pictures. Man, do you imagine that in the media? Title: Airbnb nightmare. Being photographer while you're sleeping. So yeah,
we
I
gotta get these
understand
photos
Airbnb.
for the listing, man. We gotta.
I understand that they're suspending it. I do understand why they're taking those measures, but it's like, yeah, it's not fair.
To me, it makes it really hard to depend on Airbnb, man.
Yeah,
it just does. Like, that's why. So, for example, I'm using Guestie for hosts, which is dependent upon Airbnb. My whole goal eventually is to just switch over to either Guestie or Hostfully, because now I can have my own listings and I'm not dependent upon them anymore. Because it's just like, we understand why Airbnb is like that, but it makes them less dependable. Like, after you've been in business a few years, you're like, this ain't just dependable, man. I didn't been through like my first 2 years with Airbnb when I was mainly just timeshares. I realized really quick, I'm like, yo, the platform just ain't dependable, because they'll just side with one side no matter what, you know what I mean? And no evidence, just side with these people. So yeah, it definitely, that's why I asked all those questions about how are you circumventing this in the future, you know, things of that nature.
Go
ahead.
No, I think, when we sign up for Airbnb, there's this long, million word thing that we sign. And I'm sure in there, it says we can shut down anybody's listing at any moment for any reason that we deem, reason for. And so I think, like you said, the gunplay, if you ever hear the word gun, shut down the account. If you ever hear the word camera, shut down the account. If you ever hear illegal entry or, photos or whatever these keywords is, the VAs that they use or the bots, they immediately shut down the account until further investigation. And it's in their rules. They can do that. We're playing by their rules.
That's exactly what it is. Like I told y'all before, Airbnb remind me of that scene in Training Day, man, when dude walked up to Denzel and was like, we can't do this. And Denzel looked at him and said, we the police, we can do what the fuck we want. That's basically that's basically what Airbnb is. That's basically how Airbnb reminds me of Training Day. That's exactly what it is, so
I know, and the simple answer a lot of people say is like, well, you got to go direct booking. So we were talking about that with you, Myka, before the call, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, we all want to get to that goal, but the traffic, you get it through Airbnb at the beginning, right? Then you can build your brand, and you need to work in building your brand. That's something we need to do ourselves, and make sure we have a strong direct booking website, and especially for returning customers. Those are the ones that you are gonna book directly, right? But Airbnb, it's just the traffic. You can't beat that. Nope. That's one of the things. The other thing I wanted to mention, something I like to do from time to time. I love to go to Airbnb as a and do some shopping to see what people are offering around my listings. But I also look into the house rules and things like that. Just if there are any ideas I can pick up. And I read some house rules saying for example, when there's a maintenance situation, like building the property management maintenance team have their priorities, which may be different for what our priorities. So they may have to come and fix something that was pending before or something like that, and also have it on the house rules. Because you may have a work order from a week ago that may happen when another stay is going on. Very common. We actually had that and a similar situation with some guests that they found out maintenance was inside. We forgot. Because they came to check a microwave, the door handle was broken, and like 2 weeks later they came to replace it. They didn't notify us. Same thing. It was a totally different guest, and we didn't know that they were coming in to replace that door handle on the microwave. So they got really scared. So yeah.
I just had that situation happen today. Maintenance didn't come. That's another thing. Maintenance, we can dive deep into that. Like, maintenance didn't come and fix something from the last guest. So the guest got there and the leak was fixed. There was a leak, but they left the pan for the water leak under the sink. So the leak was like, the lady was like, your leak, I think your sink's leaking, because of course it's sitting there with a pot of water under there. And I'm like, no, it's fixed. And then they also didn't repair the blinds and they didn't repair the screen door. So now you're in a new guest. They're reporting it as a problem. because the maintenance didn't come and fix it in time. And that's another thing I'm starting to notice too with the pandemic. I don't know if it's the pandemic or whatever. People are short staffed, right? So now we're in these situations where people are short staffed and you need maintenance and it ain't happening. So how are y'all looking to circumvent that?
Circumvent the maintenance
It's your own
shortage?
handyman company.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, I think I posted Men B&B's episode today on Instagram, so maybe that's something to look into,
And the problem, there's one situation with that, and it's what is supposed to be done by maintenance from the building due to liabilities. Like, can you bring your own maintenance guy to take care of the AC?
I think that would be a no, because I'm gonna talk about the apartment complexes we at. I know it's a no because you have to climb on top of the roof to get there. So if you got to climb on the roof, that's liability on them. If you got some maintenance dude on top of the roof, they fall. That's on them. You know what I mean?
And that's the point. There are a few things that you are subject, to the complex maintenance, and there's no way around it. And you say, even though it's an easy fix, sometimes it's just that.
I'm happy we're talking about this because
you could.
Go ahead.
I was just say because you could make the situation worse if whoever you bring on that you hired, they're in-house or another contractor, and they mess it up, and then it's on you at that point, and now you got to pay for all that. So yeah, I get it.
And this brings me into the subject I was talking about earlier in our group. What's the most efficient way with short-term rentals? Is it arbitrage? Is it buying? Or is it just management and co-hosting? Because they all seem like, okay, if you own the property, it's a little bit different. You ain't about to send nobody in there and ain't about to just barge in on somebody. You know what I mean? You can control that. With arbitraging, you're kind of at the mercy of the property management company. They can, one of those training day situations, we can do what the fuck we want. Or you're in the management situation where I'm just management, we take 20%. Anything goes wrong, if we lose something, it's their account. I'm not trying to make it look like that, but it's their account. So what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Well, luckily we're in like all three phases, right, Federico?
Correct.
Yeah, we are in the three phases.
So I guess I have a question for y'all then. Which one seems to be the most sustainable?
Sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll tell you this.
Okay.
Arbitraging out of a house has been pretty good because we can get our handyman in there and we'll tell the owner, hey, because we're dealing directly with the owner. We're not dealing with the complex with complex manager or whatever the hell. We'll say, hey, for example, we have this garbage disposal that's leaking, whatever. And I told him it's leaking. Our handyman went and checked it because he lives by there. It says cracked underneath. He goes, okay, yeah, he can go ahead and replace it. I'll just take it off your rent. And it's been in that regard, when we're dealing directly with an owner out of a house, it's fucking simple, right? Our handyman can go in there, do the repairs that needs to be done, and usually they'll just take it off the rent, no big deal. They're happy because they got someone in there that's gonna tell them about problems. I have rental houses, and I don't know what the fuck's going on in there, right? They don't tell me until the next year when someone else moves in. But that's one of the things about us, right? About us going in there and doing corporate leasing or arbitrages. We tell them any problem that comes up, we'll try to fix it. If it's a big ticket item, we'll let you know, and then we'll go from there. So they'll always know that their house is in tip top 100% shape. And so I think that's been the best one, is like arbitraging out of a house. Second to that would be arbitraging out of a condo that someone owns, because same thing, the complex is not going to fix each person's individual condo, right? They'll handle the outside work, whatever, but inside is up to the owner. Same thing, we'll tell the owner, hey, this is got a leak here, whatever, send our man. Okay, cool, just we'll take it off the rent for you. Boom, it's been squared away. The worst is the apartment complex. That's by far the worst. So that's the three things we're dealing with. And management, like you said, it's kind of the same because we want our clients to be happy, right? And if things aren't getting taken care of, we're not going to say, oh, screw it, it's their unit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is our name on this thing, and we want to make them happy and profitable. And so it doesn't matter.
We take
Yeah.
more care of those units than ours. Actually, it's like, you know, I think that's something that's a stamp from us. It's like we take more care of our clients' properties or ours sometimes.
Man,
Sometimes I even offer their listings before ours because I
Tell-
want them to make sure they're
tell them a
profitable.
victory. Tell them a maintenance victory, Federico.
yeah, go ahead.
The
Go ahead. I
Arlington,
have a
the
question for
Arlington
y'all.
Yeah,
house.
I was
Tell them
going
a
to talk about
victory.
the Arlington when I raised my hand because I was going to say something. I did get 2,500 back from Airbnb, which is a good one.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. That is one house where what Steven was saying of dealing directly with the owner is not happening. Actually, between the guest, the Airbnb guest, and the actual owner of the house, there are like 5 layers of people. It's crazy. It gets challenging because it is like this. It's a house that is being arbitraged by a client that we're managing, right? So you have the guest, then they're communicating with us. We're communicating with the person who has a lease, and she has a lease with a property manager who's managing for the owner, right? So again, from the guest to the owner, the actual owner of the house, there are like 3-4 layers of people. And that house had a lot of issues before. It's like this client that we have, she's wonderful because it's been a nightmare for her and she's been super patient. But the house has some pre-existing issues with the plumbing issues and with the stove. Overall, and it has carpet everywhere, which is a headache. If you're doing Airbnb, try not to have carpet, at least not in the living room. But yeah, so I don't know if we talked about this in the previous episode that it was a few weeks ago, but yeah, we had this first booking. We went, oh great, a booking. It was the same day, but it was like 4 days. It was a foreigner, or at least that what it said on the profile. So not a red flag because they're not from locals or something like that. We thought they would not do a party. Phone number was from Seattle. The thing is that they arrived, it was, I don't know how many people there were. It's, we're with my family, they're leaving, they're not staying overnight. I don't know what they were doing, man. They made a mess. Steve, you may recall, but there was chain smoking by the sliding door to the patio, and they were having the AC at, that was in January, right? And they had the AC at 90 and it was not working. The heating, of course, because they had the door open. They were cooking like crazy and throwing the oil and the grease through the toilets. They clogged everything. Anything. After 2 days, Steve went there and he had to kick them out. And they flooded both bathrooms. Carpet was flooded. That was the first day, right? Trash everywhere. The thing is that plumbing plus carpet cleaner plus extra cleaning plus 3 or 5 or 4 items missing. There was a broom missing. There was a board game missing. There was a vase broken. Everything was
we were out like $2,000.
25.
20 out of our
pocket?
pocket?
Yeah. We put out of our pocket. We put about $2,000, and the total claim was for 2,500.
Because we're paying for our handyman this whole time to go fix these issues, man. So this money's coming out. We haven't even made a penny on this freaking place that we're managing yet, right? And so anyways, and then so that's the problem. So our client had to contact the property management company, who had to contact the owners to get the okay to fix these issues, right? The AC going out, heater going out, the plumbing issues. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So it's not just us dealing with the owner. It was like 4 degrees of separation.
Yeah. So our client was she was putting money out of her pocket. We were putting money out of our pockets. Next day we had the boiler was, it was down. The boiler was not working. It was during the winter storm, and the roads were icy, and it was a Sunday, so we had to send our guy, and of course it was extra, more expensive. The second guest checked out. They broke 2 beds. because she was using the wood slats, and
wood slats.
put-
Don't do that.
people, if you're doing Airbnb, just put
Venus.
box springs.
Metal
Don't do it.
platform beds. Boom.
Yeah.
Platform. Yep.
The wood slats can't hold up, man. Can't take the heat.
Canopy beds too. They look pretty, but those things get to moving, and
Yeah,
it starts
disturbing the
snapping
neighbors.
You have to have WD-40 around the house
So
in the nightstand.
y'all remember a while ago, I asked Steve and Federico, I asked y'all this question. I said, how do y'all find the people that you want to manage? And I think y'all just answered it. Like, if you're going through all these layers, so what I'm hearing is it's better to just manage for someone who owns the property rather than to manage for somebody that arbitrages, because now this arbitrager, he's asking for permission. The property management is asking the owner for permission. So you got to go through hoops. This is like really good information, I think, for people who want to hop into the management side, because I'm hopping into management. But of course, I'm going straight from the owner. I never thought about that. I was like, man, I would manage for somebody that arbitrages, but now I'm like, fuck that. I ain't got time for that, And go into that.
There are some challenges. And if you go to apartments, for example, one of the challenges if you're doing management for other people who have a lease and there are arbitrages, is that you need to find a way where you get the information from the building for maintenance and things like that. So what I did with most of our clients, they gave me access to their apps. Like some of the buildings, they have an app, and I get the messages like tomorrow there's gonna be tomorrow the gym. Actually, I got the message today. This weekend the gym is gonna be closed at this building for carpet cleaning. So I message all of our guests. But the owners have to give you access to those apps with their credentials, right? Some people are not comfortable because sometimes they have their payment information, their rent information in their portals. So not everyone is comfortable with giving you access to their portals. But if they don't give you access to the portals, you need to let them know. You need to keep me updated with everything that is happening. And that's the other thing. If you're managing for someone and they're not giving you access to the portal, they need to put the work orders.
You know what?
Yeah,
this actually answers.
One thing you could do about that, but it doesn't necessarily address the issue with, putting in work orders is, you could have them, because all that stuff gets forwarded to their email, right? When it happens, is they could have it auto forward to, your main admin email or support email. But then you have to kind of filter through, right? Because it's like, okay, well, what unit is this? What client is this? As they start to come through. Maybe you do that on the front end, but that could be maybe one solution.
That's not a bad idea.
The sensitive information deal, which I know every management company is different. Is we may be starting up our first management client, and we're finalizing the deal on it. Is asking them, hey, I need to see a copy of your lease, because I need to see especially on an arbitrage situation, I need to see that you're legally doing an arbitrage at this complex or at this house, so on and so forth. Now, I know everybody may not care about that necessarily, but if you're trying to do everything on the straight and narrow, that could be, a means of doing that. And at that point, it's like, once they already have their bank account info there or their credit card info, once you log in that next time, it only shows the last four. So it's not like you can steal that information. So I would even maybe challenge that if possible, from folks.
Yeah, it should be something in the contract, no contract with the clients. It's like we need to see a lease. I will need access to the portal to put work orders and get updates from the building. I agree.
So people, we've been in the arbitrage game has been probably the go-to thing in the last 4 years in the short-term rental space, right? And most arbitragers tell you they self-manage. And maybe, do you think this is probably one of the reasons? Because if you arbitrage and you hire a management company, that's a huge turnover. You got to turn over, like you said, I got to give you the login to do work orders. Who goes to the front office? You're sending a dude who manages it who ain't on the lease. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a lot. Because I know people who make millions of dollars a year arbitraging, and they all are for no self-manage. And maybe is that the reason why? Is there just a lot of hoops to jump through?
I don't, it's been going smooth for us. I
Yeah, but
think that
I'm just saying from like maybe the general consensus because of how much, that's a lot to turn over. Imagine you have 70 arbitrage units in apartment complexes.
mhm,
That's a lot
it's a
to
lot.
turn over.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know.
But to your point,
Mhm.
but to your point though, when you're making a generalization that, the majority or at least a large portion, like
Mhm.
I wonder, I mean, I don't even have to wonder. I kind of know what the distribution is of people that are doing arbitrage. I would assume that the larger distribution is on those that have 5 or less. You maybe have some in that mid range, and then the very few, the 1% or 10%, have like 50 or more units kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I think when you have that 20 and below, I would say 20 and below is when, maybe that management fee doesn't make sense. Whether it's 20%, 25%, even 30. I've even seen some markets, but this is more so like real vacation,
Mhm.
like when you're looking at cabins and all that kind of stuff, 40%
Wow.
management fee for those. So when you think about the type of margins that are being made already, I mean, all the tech behind what we do, all the different systems, the subscriptions, all that stuff, even before management comes into play, because you'll still need those with the management company.
Mhm.
The margins, the margins may not be there for some operators. So that would be my hypothesis.
Ooh, you make a good point there, man, because you just said when you go to vacation rental markets, it can go up to 40%. Now, I want everybody to go back and listen to the episode with Avery Carl. She says she self-manages 8 because if you go to the area that she's in, which is the what is it called? Out in Tennessee, the Smoky Mountains. You go to that area, the management fee is going to be high because the income's extremely high. So now they figured out how to self-manage it. So yeah, sometimes you're right. That management fee ain't really worth it, So that's something to consider. You're right. And I have been thinking about. Oh, go ahead. I have been thinking about going to the vacation rental markets. I haven't told nobody yet, but I have actively been looking because I'm like, these people are making $100K a year off one property.
Yeah,
that seems more. Go ahead.
I was saying one more piece because I don't want to bash management companies at all, right?
Yeah.
So again, when we go back to distribution, again, that's a lot of people just like in the past 2 years, the past year. Imagine all the people that have gotten into the arbitrage game is a huge percentage. So all these people are also beginners. Beginners never start. I mean, it's rare that they ever start off until they build up their portfolio with a management company. So they're going to self-manage. Yeah. So again, I think it has to do more with the distribution of when people get in the game and the number of units that people have. And the last piece is maybe just, if they don't want to have to deal with it, then yeah, the management piece is the way to go, right? And they can focus their efforts on other things that are more high value, high quality, high value things for them. So finding other units, buying other real estate properties, all that kind of stuff.
If I can tell you what's the value of having a management company from the feedback that we have from our clients, it's just they don't have to care about a call on a Friday at 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the thing. That's a part I think is really important because our clients range from 1, 2 to 5 properties as max each client. All right, so they range 2, 3, 4 properties, and we charge 20%. The numbers make sense for them. They're still making money, but they don't have to deal with making sure, because I mean, we have a lot of things, and this is a thing for anyone listening that is a newbie. For us, we have our turnovers automated. We have our restocking in place. Everything for us is running kind of smoothly because we've been in the game so long that we know how things go, right? But some of these people, they're running in between turnovers, making sure everything is in place, that they have the supplies. The checking instructions may not be clear. They're getting messages at any time, at any hour. They don't have backup systems. They don't have the messages automated. Airbnb may take a chunk of the time that they need to be looking at the phone. And we're giving the peace of mind. That's what I sell whenever we have a call with a client. I tell them, our mission is to give our clients peace of mind and our guests a 5-star experience.
Mm.
And I think that's the thing, is peace of mind. For anyone, they may want to do it as a passive income, whatever it is that you want to do it, we're giving you peace of mind, because whatever goes down, and that's the main thing when you're doing Airbnb, something may go down. Maintenance, emergencies, someone getting locked out. And again, they always get locked out on a Friday night, not on a Monday morning. We're going to be there to solve it. And that's the value we offer.
I'm happy you brought up value, because earlier y'all said something I had a question about. You said you make sure your clients are taken care of first, even more than your own properties, right? So where's the happy medium on that? Because I'm going to throw something at you. That guy who you manage for can leave at any time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you've been paying less attention to your own inventory that is always going to be 100% your brand.
Yeah.
Y'all, so where's the happy medium of, okay, yeah, we're focusing 100% on making sure our clients are happy too. Let me make sure we're 100% on making sure our brand is happy. Because that client guy, he can leave, but your properties will always be yours. And I know, yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
I want to say kind of a happy median is putting like travel nurses or extended stays in our properties, right? Because let's say, for example, we have a property we're renting for like $1,500 a month, 16 something all in, and we could throw a travel nurse in there for $2,500 for 3 months. That's fucking great. I'm happy with that. $1,000 a month, whatever, more or less. And then, but that same $2,500 for someone that we're managing for, minus 20% management fee, minus whatever fees from, whatever, if it came from Airbnb, it might not be worth it for them. You know what I'm saying? So on ours, we can throw in somebody and then throw in a travel nurse for like a 3-month stay, and it makes sense. And then we can focus on doing the Airbnb side for our clients to maximize their profits, whereas because they need to maximize the profits because they're paying, $1,500 and versus, $300 with utilities, internet, all that stuff. And plus 20% from us, they got to pay us too. So $2,500 a month for them, that ain't going to cut it. They might even lose money doing that. You know what I'm saying? But we can put $2,500 people all day long in our units and then focus on maximizing their profits. So that's kind of, if you're thinking like a happy medium where we're taking care of our properties and taking care of their properties at the same time, that's about as close as to a happy medium I could think of.
You just answered the ultimate question. Is it better it's better to really manage higher end Airbnbs?
Well, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. So it's better.
Well, we got rid of like 10 listings that we grab. Oh man, this is a horror story. I know I've been talking a lot. I don't know, Mike, if I'm taking the microphone a lot of the time.
No, go ahead, man. This is good learning stuff.
So the way we get clients is usually, as I said the other time, mouth to mouth, right? Word to mouth.
Mouth to mouth.
That's how we say in Spanish. Boca a boca. The thing is that
that's the wine talking. That's all right.
That's how we usually get our clients.
Whatever works, baby. Mouth to mouth.
Cheers.
Man.
But as I mentioned earlier, I usually, I shop in my areas to see what's around. And I found this listing, man, I feel pity about it. I was like, like 3 blurry pictures taken from the phone, like really shitty pictures, no description, and like really bad reviews. And I noticed they were in the same building that we were. So my thought was like, okay, they're in the same building. They're probably the ones that are getting the guests that my guests are complaining about the neighbors, right? Because they're probably, they're pricing like shit. They're probably getting those people smoking weed all day in the hallways and, blasting music. So it's like, I texted her and say, "Hey, how are you? I see your we are in the same building, and I noticed you need some help with your listing. You can find me this way if you need any help. If not, here are some tips." I put like a few tips, just to be nice because they're clearly not doing well. Anyways, the thing is that we ended up taking their listings. I don't know how they ended up with like 10 listings, 10 properties in the same buildings we were in the same area in Lower Greenville. Apparently, they had an arrangement with the management company, which is the same one that came into the property that got us now suspended. So that area, man, is good. We make money, but it's a headache. We took those 10 listings. They were not paying attention at it. They were not clean. After the last checkup, they were not clean. There were so many things broken, like a cabinet door missing. A sofa, remember, Steve? A sofa with no leg. Just put it some. You're muted.
The sofa on blocks. Yeah, the sofa on
Yeah,
blocks.
it was on some.
That's when you know it's a ghetto B&B, when the sofa is on blocks.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you gotta sit down. You gotta sit down soft when you sit on that couch. You can't just flop down. You drop to the floor.
Man, I mean, imagine the people that we were getting. That we got a neighbor complaining about a fight, and then when the cleaners came in, there were punches on the wall, and there were holes on the wall from punches. So that's what we were getting, and we handled that for 2 weeks. And it was, it was like musical chairs. We were switching people around because, this apartment has this issue, this one that has this other issue. This is what happened in one of the apartments, right? One day, maintenance came to do some work. They didn't tell us why, and they took all the furniture and everything out of the apartment. So someone came to check in. They opened the door, and the apartment was empty.
Wow.
And the owner was like, "I don't know. Everything was, I don't know. I should ask some maintenance. I don't know." It was a nightmare. So yeah, we did 1 month, and I say, "Hey, when we took over, we agreed that you will fix this, and that." You did nothing. Another month happened, and it ended bad. I just I ended up just saying, "Hey, up to this point, we're done. Here are your listings. Good luck, whatever."
Yeah, we had to cut. Yeah, 80-20 rule.
Yeah, man, that we were barely making money because they were so shitty. They would say, "Okay, the first month we're gonna give you a deal. We're gonna charge less management." So you put the money into getting ring cameras, better furniture, restocking, and everything. No, they did nothing. But yeah, so I think the problem when you're growing, and this is another advice: when you're growing, you want to take as many listings, and you look at the listing number and you say, "I want to get more listings," and then you realize, it's just not the numbers, not just about how many listings you have. It's about the quality of the listings that you have. That's really important.
Oh man,
Quality over quantity. Yeah.
You also said you worked with your client, right? You said, "Hey, we're going to give you a lower management fee." And this is something I'm doing now. Knowing your client is huge when managing. So for example, let me give you an example of what I'm going through. So I had my friend, his dad ended up passing. He's a real close friend to me. Me and him, he's known my family my whole life. Our dads worked together, right? And his dad ended up passing. And he was like, "Look, man," he called me. He basically, he knew his dad was on his way out, and he called me. He goes, "Look, Mikey, man, I'm about to have my dad's house." He told me ain't no equity in it. He goes, "But I don't want to sell it because I know my dad has always, he put his whole life into this house. It's bad. It's the lake house I'm talking about, badass lake house. I know Federico seen it. He was like, holy shit, and he basically put his whole life into that house." So, but he was like, "I'm kind of strained on budget of setting it up." Right. So what I did was, and this is why I know Steve said we got our hands in every pot. Having your hand in every pot is really good because you learn each pot. Right. So what I did was I was like, "Look, you ain't really got the capital to set it up. So let me do this. I'll arbitrage it from you for 6 months. I'll set everything up. Let me work the 6 months to get all my money back. And then I'll just pass it on to you and we can now manage it for 20%. So knowing stuff like that, and having your hand in every pot, you know how to structure the deal so everyone wins. And I think that that's huge, man. Like, and then it's one of those higher end Airbnbs, like you said, it's going to be higher end. So I ain't got to worry about, shitty management in place. I ain't got to run through hoops. So I think this is a really good conversation on, who is your perfect clientele for management? Because I think a lot of people, when they hop into management shit, they'll just take on anybody. Like you said, more units. And I think right now, and I was talking to my guy, Brian Thatcher, the other day, and I hope he listens to this episode. We were talking he goes, I sat back on the short-term rental space, and he goes, I didn't hop all the way in because one thing always confused me. He goes, if y'all are making so much money with these Airbnbs, why do people focus on how many units you have instead of what income you're actually producing? And I said, you are 100% right. That is why I hopped out of the arbitrage game. That reason right there. Because I'm like, first thing any arbitrager asks you, how many you got? But when I talk to people who have quality Airbnbs, they say, how much does that one produce?
It's like the guy you talk about the other episode, the guy in Scottsdale.
Who is it?
He.
Yeah.
Scottsdale.
Can he? Yeah. How much does that one produce?
Exactly. That's more than having like 10 shitty units.
Yeah. And I'm learning that now. That's why, have you noticed, I kind of backed off arbitrage. I'm using my arbitrage units to pay me the money to keep me off my 9-to-5. And I'm just buying properties that I know they're going to produce.
And that's a goal, man. That's what we talked with Steve from the beginning. It was like, let's use the arbitrage to buy us houses. Like, arbitrage is not the end goal for us. It's a cash flow to get into real estate. Facts.
And I think that's where the arbitrage thing is right now. I think it's to a point where, I'm back in the day, you could start up arbitrage for $3,500 now with inflation shit. It might be $8,000, but, but like when you first started, people will start up an arbitrage for $3,500, right? So what happened was when you get that $3,500 back, what are you going to look to do? I'm going to go get me another arbitrage instead of, let's say you set up 10 arbitrages, right? Then they $3,500 a piece. In actuality, you just spent $35,000. Could you not have bought a house with that? You see what I'm saying?
Oh.
So it's one of those things.
But it's
where
the cash flow play though. At that point, though, right?
That house,
you could. That's just one door.
Exactly. That's why we said, how much does that one produce? If that one can produce, if I'm making 6 figures on one house, is your end goal really to buy, or is your end goal to be rich? So is your end goal to be wealthy, or is your end goal to be rich? You know what I'm saying? That's what we have to start looking at, because wealthy is a long-term play. Rich is right now. My mentor Thatch always says it. It's a whole bunch of rich people that work 9-to-5s. And I know Steve talks about it too. He goes, yeah, man, my friends, they work their 9-to-5. They have these nice ass cars. They got a $900 a month, car note, but that's because that's their end goal. And now I'm like, man, if I would have really thought about it, you know what I would have did at the beginning of short-term rentals? You know what I would have did? I would have only done management. I would have managed everything. And then I would have turned that money that I was managing with and just used that be my leverage into owning properties. Because I talked to Kent He before that podcast, me and Kent He had a conversation. He goes, the reason why I don't get into arbitrage is because you have to start up with capital. I can use that he used his capital to buy a 6-figure Airbnb in Scottsdale, Arizona. How many Airbnbs of apartments do you need to match Scott's one? Think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you don't have the money to do it up front, then you can never get there, right?
True.
Unless you use other people's money.
Exactly.
I know everybody may not know how to do that.
Yeah, which you can do. But how many people in the arbitrage game are truly using other people's money? They're using money out of their pocket, which they could have used to go buy a bachelorette Airbnb themed property out in Scottsdale. You know what I mean? Because like when he told us it makes $150, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And then like, even if you go back and listen to the episodes with Serena, listen to the episodes with Rachel Gainsborough, they have under 10 units making 7 figures. Right. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? So, but me, now that I think about it in retrospect, that's what I would have done. I would have probably just managed my way into buying property, but I've now learned how to leverage arbitrage. But go ahead, Steve. I think you're about to say something.
Yeah. You're right. Exactly right. I mean, in this game, as this industry was growing, it was all about the numbers, right? You got 50 units, you got 75 units, you got 100 units. Wow. They're what is it called? Legend. You've reached legend status. You got 100 units, you know? But
Legend.
Yeah, it's like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah. Shout out to our buddies. Legends, you know. So you reach legend status if you get 100 or more. I don't know. It's all about the numbers, but really, I mean, like you're exactly right, man. Well, that was an eye-opening episode with Ken He, because I mean he's making 11,000 a month on that thing, right? And it's one not arbitrage. He owns it. But here's the thing too.
A month.
Here's the thing too, because we're arbitraging some houses right now, right? And let's just say the patios are lacking a bit. But what do? We put like $10,000 of our own money to fix up a patio on someone else's house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas Ken he spent 10,000 or 20,000 to fix up the backyard to make it freaking badass, right? But it's his house. He's putting equity into his house, which is putting wealth into his pockets, right? So I understand that, man. It's like we're at a point where we got some cool arbitrage houses, but we can't justify pouring thousands of dollars into it to make it like $11,000 a month moneymaker, you know?
Yeah, I think the only thing that kept us, you know, that we was talking with Steve, is like we grow a company where we get to a point that we're making this amount of money that's pretty cool, and with not a lot of debt. I know there's good debt and bad debt, but I think the mindset we have is like, yeah, let's try. You know, there's a lot of things going on in the world. Let's try not to get a lot of debt because we don't know what's going to happen with COVID and everything. We got started. So I'm not saying that debt is bad. I know there's good debt, but I mean, at least we didn't get debt to set up arbitrages where there's no equity. If I'm saying that right. I'm just learning about this stuff, right? But I understand that the furniture that we purchase or something we're not owning that we're gonna get equity out of. So I think that worked out okay.
What you just said goes into a conversation that I had with my business partner Norm down in Houston. We actually had that conversation. I said, how much debt are you willing to take on with no equity? And we all sat down and talked about it. He goes, honestly, that is truly that is your risk level. Because if you take on a whole bunch of debt and you ain't got no equity, you just dependent on hustle and cash, you can end up in the graveyard real quick. But if you're comfortable with that shit, you have to be comfortable with that. And I had to really sit back and I'm like, because I was at a point where I'm like, I could go get 70 arbitrages. Do I want to do it? And I realized that ain't my comfort level, man. If I'm just dependent on cash flow and I ain't got no equity to back it, and it's one of those things where you got to look at yourself and be like, what's my why and what's my purpose? You know what I mean? If your purpose is, I know my purpose in 7 years, when I'll be 40, I want to have the option to never work again. I want to be on a beach. I want to be with my kids. My son will be 13. My daughter will be 7. I want to have the opportunity to never work again. And I'm like, if I got all these arbitrages and all this debt, I don't know if that fits my goals. You know, that's something to consider.
Let's hear from Mikey B, man. This is a new segment on the show. What's on Mikey B's mind?
Yeah.
Mike, rock the mic, Mike.
All right.
What are your thoughts on all this, man?
Yeah,
take over. I want to take a break and drink a beer.
I gotta get a refill, man. I've been drinking too fast. Look. You know, I think you know, with any business, obviously you want to be able to, you know, stay in your lane, but also diversify. So I think by those individuals that are able to do a little bit of everything and not get spread too thin, like, you know, doing purchases and doing short-term rentals, or doing a couple of arbitrages and maybe doing management as well, is diversifying your income, your pool, so that you mitigate risk, or you lower risk at that point, because you're not leveraged too heavy on one side, right? And you know, I think you have to be smart in where you bring on certain partners and or certain team members, staff, I know, especially once you scale up to so many units, especially if you're doing like hardcore short-term rental where you got people coming in every couple of days. I know our portfolio specifically is largely midterm for the most part. It's like 70%, 80% midterm. And we only have a few like short-term rentals that are heavy. And then obviously, you know, in between the midterms, you try to do short-term, so on and so forth. Is that on those individuals that have a ton of those units that are heavy Airbnb, heavy arbitrage short-term rentals, is having that kind of support so that, you know, you don't get fatigued as an owner, or even if it's, you know, two co-owners in the business. And I think that's important. A lot of people, you know, don't talk about that host fatigue or owner fatigue, however you want to, from. And I think, you know, from the solution with management, you guys help solve that, right? You minimize that fatigue, because what's going to happen is that individual is going to tell somebody off, or they're going to not say something in the right way when they, you know, they got kids hollering and the dog hollering at home and stuff like that, and they snap at a guest, whether it's in a message or on the phone, and then, hey, you know, that's going to come up in review, and that could be a downward spiral, right? Because as you know, when you can least expect something to come up with a guest at a location, that's when it's going to happen, right? You know, one of the things I was making fun of, and I'll be done after this, is, you know how in the construction industry they have like, you know, the workers, and then they have you know, the manager, whatever, and in the manager's office there's this safety wall, right? And in that safety wall it says X number of days without incidents, or so on and so forth, or even in manufacturing.
Yeah.
I almost think about in an arbitrage or in a short-term rental, you know, how many days or how many hours before, you know, without a guest saying anything, right? It's, you always gonna be ripping that paper down and starting over again. But just because it's especially if you have a lot of units that are high volume, right? But I think when you guys mentioned earlier about the messaging, your messaging should be so in tune at every little detail and different types of messaging, right? So some of it may be email, some of it may be text, some of it may be in the app. It could be all of those, but including all of that throughout the user journey or through the guest journey, to where they shouldn't have to ask you anything unless, you know, something that goes awry that's like not out of the norm, right? And I think that's where it helps you guys minimize time, you guys be more profitable. And then for those that are self-managing, you know, it helps them, you know, minimize that communication time and that fatigue as well. So, I mean,
let me touch on something you said a minute ago. You said most of your units are 70 to 80% midterm. Now, I've been talking with Federico about this, and I would love for us to have our units at 70 to 80% midterm. And I think, and I know Federico's on board now, especially after this whole Airbnb debacle, right? That happened where they paused our units, pretty much shut them all down for a week. Hey, they could come back and say, no, y'all are in the wrong. We're going to shut them down forever. You know, that would suck. And then we lose our super host and we have to start all over from scratch. And then we don't get another guest complaining and saying something, and the Airbnb takes their word over ours, whatever. So I was telling Federico, you know, why don't we do 70 to 8? I actually use that number, 70, 80%, you know, midterm, long-term, whatever, travel nurses, traveling professionals, and then just use Airbnb to fill in the gaps. I was like, if we were running at that percentage and Airbnb decided, oh, we're going to shut y'all's units down for a week, we don't care. 70, 80%, we're even using y'all.
And we're
like,
actually doing good in most of the properties because of that. So that's something that is helping us, because many of the properties we have booking for a month in March. I know nowadays people are not booking for more than a month in advance. So I feel like it didn't hit us as hard as it could have hit us in a different situation. But because we're doing midterm stays, we're kind of covered. And you know, if you look at the numbers, you say, okay, midterms and, you know, longer term stays are going to help you through the slow month, especially now that some of our markets for the type of units, when we're talking about apartments, it's getting a little bit saturated. So, you know, sometimes locking a month stay, 100% occupancy, and you're covering rent plus making profit, instead of looking at what's going to happen in this month that maybe is slow or not, I'm totally buying that.
So
Yeah, and I think
Oh,
I
go
think
ahead.
you can even like strategically do that too. Like so for
Mhm.
certain markets where you have the seasonality, whether it's the winter months or whatnot, you can start to say, okay, well, let's start to. And I think Myka touched on this. It's been a while ago because I learned from him about setting up your pricing in a way that makes your listing more conducive to being able to accept those midterm stays. Because let's just say, today is it's early spring, right? It's March. If you have somebody that has booked something in May for just a weekend, or let's just say 2 weekends in May, and now at this point you can't even do a 3-month booking if you wanted to, unless you were willing to cancel those 2 weekends far in advance. So I think with the pricing strategy, that plays a huge role in that. So many days out, you have a minimum stay requirement, or you boost up the price.
So two things on that real quick before I forget. Airbnb launched a new option where you can set up flat prices for monthly stays. I don't know if you noticed that. So if you're running everything through a PMS, make sure to go to your listing from time to time in Airbnb. And now they open. When you have the notifications, like for example, when you need to take better pictures, they say get a better better pictures and get a quote for a photographer. They're adding a new option that says, and there's actually a link I can find it for you, Mike, and you can put it on the podcast episode description later. There's a link now that you can go and set up like a flat rate for monthly stays, and you can customize that by month. So you can say January flat rate 2,500, and then February 2,800, and June $3,000.
Be very careful with that.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
They'll let you set up that flat rate, but if you have a monthly discount on it, they will discount on top of that.
Really?
Yeah. So if you set your price up to 3,200 and you set up a 20% discount, they're going to give you they're going to show the guest the discounted price and give you the discounted payout. So be very careful with that. Yeah. Because I just did it. I'm like, hold up, but they do boost your listing. So what I did was just what Mike said. I go in there and I set up my calendar to get mid to long-term stays. Mm-hmm. And I was going to say, with y'all's management company, why aren't y'all doing mid to long-term stays? Because I'm going to show you an example, because while y'all was talking, I pulled up my stats. So I had one guest in Dallas. I had one unit that was occupied 24 nights. Mm-hmm. And the average revenue per night was 120. Because I have my calendar set up to where I'm only attracting the longer term stay. Yeah. And basically how I do that is I price my houses. I price anything 20 days out is going to be priced really high, but it's going to be discounted if you stay for 7 or more days. So somebody looking for a random 7-day stay in April is going to be hard to find, but someone like a traveling nurse looking in April to stay 30 plus days, it's more attractive. So like all my places right now are occupied, and I think the average stay is 24 days because of how I set up my calendar. And then what that does is that lessens your time of dealing with guests and things of that nature. Because I have really found out all of my bad guests are leisure travelers. I don't want them.
Especially VRBO travelers. They complain the most. They think they're traveling to Fort Worth and think they're going to stay in a luxury villa in Punta Cana or whatever. And there's
another thing I discussed earlier too. Sorry to cut you off. Remote workers, we're all talking about remote workers, but it comes with a huge downfall. Remote workers drive up utilities. Our utilities tripled focusing on remote workers because
always there. Yeah.
Yes, they're always there. Utilities go, bro. I had a $300 light bill due to remote workers, because I'm like, yeah, they're filling the unit, but they're upping the cost.
So is it really worth it? To me, a travel nurse is more efficient to the unit than a remote worker. I hate to say that, but I just noticed it. I'm like, they're working from home.
That's it.
They got the AC cranked.
They barely there. Yeah, they barely there.
Yeah,
So,
they
If there's any travel nurse, listen to the episode. We love you. All right.
Travel nurses, they ain't in the house. They got the, you can't go check on somebody remotely and, take some blood pressure remotely, so these remote workers, bro, it's like, damn, I love y'all, but
Can
y'all.
you put it in the lease
And
somehow with the remote
go.
worker? Yeah, if you go over a certain amount of electricity, you're paying for that. I don't know. Can you put that in the lease?
I really think that's where it's going, Steve. I think that's where it has to go because it's like y'all driving up $300 light bills and like y'all just sitting in there, and people say install the Nest thermostat. Yeah, that works if they ain't there. If they're there, they just adjust that shit right back up. You're like, damn, man. But and I made a post about it on Instagram, and a lot of people are noticing it. It's like, bro, they sit there and use because they're there. So I don't know how y'all circumventing that because I'm trying to figure it out.
No, but I noticed the same.
I got the solution.
Okay.
So what you do is, and this was I'm sure you probably saw this post. I can't remember what group it was in. It was an international, somewhere international. For the AC, I'm assuming this is an area or climate that AC is kind of optional kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They had a coin operated AC machine, so you have to put in a quarter for the AC to turn on. It only had a certain amount of time.
Man, I stayed at a place like that in Thailand. I booked the place on booking.com and you had the option no AC or AC, which was more expensive. Of course, I got with AC. And the difference is they will give you the remote, a tick-in.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. They got coin operated AC units.
Yeah. Let me forward you the TikTok. I have it.
That's hilarious, bro.
Sarah.
That's hilarious. Like you wanted a cooler up in here, bro. You gotta come up with that quarter, bro. Like,
especially in Texas in the summer, man. Ooh, they'll kill us.
Because that's what I'm getting killed with, man. So, because the last 2 weeks,
I think you just need to be upfront or transparent with it on the front end, just so there's no surprises.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Shit, last week it was what the average temperature was 75 degrees. So, with 75 in Texas, for people that ain't from here, shit, they cranking up AC, 75 degree heat in Texas, So, man, I was just like, and I talked to someone out in Seattle, one of our good friends, a friend of the show, Mac. He goes, dude, I'm going through the same thing. He goes, if you cater to these remote workers, they're sitting in the house just driving up the utilities. So that's something y'all might want to consider when we do these remote workers. Yeah, it helps with occupancy, but revenue and bottom line.
Yeah, probably. Maybe we can put something on the lease when it's at the rate booking. Something like this is how much we're gonna cover on the utilities. Anything on top of this is gonna be charged. It's gonna be deducted from the deposit.
I've been thinking about that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, but so you guys specifically, like, how much more challenging is that gonna be logistically, though, right? Because you're only looking at utility bills right now, so now y'all got to go back, and it's gonna be after the fact too. So I don't know what the time frame is when you can charge and invoice them, because just like with water, it's always delayed a month, right? So you only know the usage until after it's done.
I guess you can.
You're paying from the past guest.
You can lock the thermometer up where they can't change the temperature, right?
Well, I don't know about that. You get some phone calls then. Yeah, you gonna get some calls.
Man, I guess it's crazy because I'm out there looking for properties all the time, and it's like Dallas, dude. Dallas, it's like there's a lot of 1 bedrooms, especially 2 bedrooms for $2,000 a month, like apartments for $2,000 a month. I'm like, so you're over here. So a lot of people are still trying to, an Airbnb game, trying to catch up to putting someone longer term in there for $2,500 a month. But then you just hit on something. These apartments will throw someone in there, but the people are going to pay their electric bill. They're going to pay the water. They're going to pay the gas. They're going to pay everything, right? It's not just they're getting $2,000 a month and us, hey, Airbnbers are getting $2,500. No, they're making out better than us because they got to pay all that shit. The $300 bill, the person who's there's got to pay it. Man, we're paying that shit for them.
And on that point, so rent utilities. And I know that every operation is a little bit different, but there are some things that are kind of like standard, right? Like you got, maybe the Ring doorbell, or if you got a house, you have a security system, all those different types of subscriptions that you're paying monthly, the minute noise monitoring systems. If you got StayFi for the Wi-Fi and collecting guest information and so on and so forth.
Plus your property management system, plus your
the pricing strategy,
smart pricing,
all that. And then like what was it? Even the other services too. So Steve, like with the houses, right? You may have pest control that you're paying for on a monthly or quarterly. You have lawn care. You have what's the other? If you have like a maintenance contract with like HVAC, where they come in and do like every quarter or every 6 months or whatever, like a tune-up or something like that, you got that kind of stuff. So it could stack up. Dude. Now we hope that all of these investments on a monthly are preventative maintenance to minimize and ease everything else, right? And smooth operation. That's the intent. But I mean, does that really happen? Is it worth the effort? Like, because I know people that have units they don't have any cameras at all. They don't have. And so I know some people that don't even have smart locks. They use the old school lockbox or something.
I see it like this, right? So when we all first started in the game, rents were around $1,000, maybe 1,100, right? So yes, those mortgages were big enough for us to absorb those, utility costs, no problem, because we're making $2,000 to $3,000, right? But then as rents are going up, and we're still doing our same Airbnb rates, maybe just a little bit higher, those margins are getting smaller and smaller for us to make a profit, and those utility prices are getting higher and higher every single year. So it's but then that's gonna, it's just gonna keep. It's the other end of it. The Airbnb prices are eventually gonna have to go up, and that's gonna make a jump, and then there's gonna be
but as there's more offer.
Oh shit, that's the thing. There's more people doing it too. So
There's more people doing it because everyone's jumping on the game. So can you really charge accordingly to the race?
I am happy you brought that up.
Get solar, man, and then you can have free. No.
Me and Mike had this convo this week because we're in the middle of lease renewals, right? So we were like, how much is too much to increase on the lease renewal, or is the market going to sustain the lease going up and us raising our prices? So like in Houston, I don't think the market will sustain it because it's oversaturated.
Yeah.
What's going to stop Dallas from getting oversaturated? Well, the only good thing I will say, they're in talks with regulation. Houston, there ain't no regulations. Any Tom, Dick, or Jane can go get a lease and start up an Airbnb. So, what's the happy medium of, okay, you've raised the rent too much, or is the market going to balance out? I do think in Dallas, the market's going to balance out because it's too many people moving here. Yeah. But other places, I don't know. If your rent goes up $200 and your utilities are going up, inflation is going through the roof, when do you say, okay, F it, I'm out the game here? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Something to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can get into a spot where your utilities are covered, because there's some places out there you can get into a condo, and arbitrage it from somebody, and we have one that does that. And here's the only problem with that. So the utilities are included in the rent. Beautiful thing, right? I think we pay $1,600 a month, but it's all included into it. So the guests go there. It's not in the hood. It's actually the neighborhood. So it's the neighborhood, man. It's a good one, It's a rich neighborhood.
It's a good hood.
Yeah. So they create,
Say that again.
What? The neighborhood? That's what it's called. Oak Lawn.
Yeah.
You never heard that before, Myka?
Oh yes.
Grant
those are the
Cardone
best
a long time ago. If you invest in West Hollywood, you'll make the most money of your life. Go ahead, Steve.
How do they call it? Double income, no kids. Those are the best.
Steve's about to get us canceled.
I love you guys.
I'd have done that a long time ago, man. Oh man. So this place that we're arbitraging at, it's all included. Water, electric, everything. And so it's pure profit, right? So someone can get in there and blast the AC all they want, blast the heater all they want. The only problem is it's kind of co-opted. They all share like the AC units in a way where the HOA has to come and turn them on in like April or May. So it's sometimes April gets fucking hot, right? So we had that issue come up, and our guests are sweating their asses off because it's like 90 degrees in April.
Their asses.
But the AC don't come on until close to May, right? Because that's just how they do it. And so we had to go install one of those portable R2D2 ACs there, and we had to put some space heaters there because in the wintertime they don't turn it on until freaking January or something like that, right? The heat. So if you can get into a spot that the utilities are included, that's the best bet. Otherwise, I don't know, man. It's just the rents are going crazy. House prices are going freaking ridiculous. Everything's going up, man. I don't know.
Speaking of house prices, bro,
it's ridiculous.
There is a house, 2 houses under contract on my street. One for $360, 3-bed, 2.5 baths, 600 square feet smaller than mine. The other one, 5 beds, 2.5 baths, 385. 400 square feet smaller than mine. After I get done with this next project that's gonna free up my HELOC, I'm about this close to selling my house, man. Like I'm like, y'all, especially with inflation going through the roof. I'm like, man, I can pay off all my debt, So I don't know.
Sell your house and then go move.
Yeah, now you got somewhere to stay, in the arbitrage if you need.
Stay
midterm.
Exactly. Hey, I'm like, that off as an expense, man. Hey, I gotta pay my bills over here.
Hey, Mike, can you turn down the AC, bro? Man, I'm paying my rent.
For real, and that's another thing to look at, like with housing prices being extremely crazy. I think that makes the management side seem more attractive. Because do you want to be the dude arbitraging a house where the rent's inflated? Because the rent's got to be inflated because they got to sustain it. But if I'm just managing it, man, I'll do my best to give you the best profit we can get you. What are y'all thoughts on that? Because that's why I love the management game, because like there ain't no damn risk, no skin in the game.
Mike was mentioning that before. He was talking about diversifying, and that's a conversation we have with Steve very often. What is our ratio? Our ratio of management versus arbitrage. So we say, okay, for one arbitrage that we make, how many properties do we want to be managing? And that that's a good number, because you say, okay, if that's the thing, you want to minimize your risk, and of course doing management is a less risky option. But with less risk is less income, less profit, revenue. So we say, okay, if we want to invest in an arbitrage, okay, how many management properties do we want to have behind? Our numbers are around 3 to 4 units. So 3 to 4 management properties for one arbitrage. That's the number we come up with.
You know what? I agree. And I think that's where the buying side comes in. I'm going to just share some numbers with you. So on one of the houses that that I did a BRRRR on, all in, I'm looking at about 1,100 all in, utilities with the mortgage. That property's gonna do about $5,000 for me this month. Which, I'm like, well, damn, if I'm doing $5,000 on those, one of those probably adds up to about 2 or 3 arbitrages, the cash flow. So what I'm doing to back myself out of arbitrage, once I get this new BRRRR up as a short-term rental, I'm probably cut like 3 arbitrages to save my ass. And I think what you just said is very important, because me and Norman discussed that. We said, hey, how many arbitrages is equal to one house, or how many management is equal to one arbitrage? You know what I mean? So you can start to fill that number, because that's very important to know, to get to your end goal. Because this is how I say the fastest way to wealth, I think, use the short-term rental management strategy to just build up cash. Use arbitrage to get off your 9 to 5. Let that pay your bills. Let arbitrage do that. And then, of course, buying is a long-term wealth game. That's how I look at it. I could be wrong, but y'all tell me y'all thoughts.
You want to hear some real talk?
Depending on the market, arbitrage and management can almost be a 1-for-1. To be honest,
I agree.
like you could make as much managing as you would doing the arbitrage.
And you know what? That's something we see on some properties, like one Fort Worth, 2-bed, 2-bath downtown apartment was making as management 20%, around the same that a not very good performing 1-bedroom apartment in downtown Dallas was doing.
Whoa, that's very important information to know right there. You're saying a high end, basically a 2-bed, 2-bath downtown Fort Worth.
Yeah, not even high end. A lot of amenities, but it was an older building, very well located, right next to downtown, compared to our 1-bed, 1-bath in Lower Greenville, Dallas. Some months we're getting more from the management that we were getting from.
Yeah. The only thing, it was on the
Arbitrage.
DL. It was on the down low. That one was on the down low.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, on that one, they were making out like bandits because they were paying $1,500 a month, right? $1,500 a month for a 2-bed, 2-bath. That's just killing it, right? And then I guess the apartments, it's time to raise the rent. They're gonna raise it to $2,000 a month. That's a jump right there. So you can stay. It's gonna be $2,000 a month. I'm like, God dang,
bro.
It was still profitable for them to stay there, but it was under the radar. And
it was under the radar. So
bro, me and Mike going through the same shit, bro. They're raising my 2-bedroom to like $200 a month on the renewal.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's happening. But
are you gonna bounce?
At least it ain't 800.
Yeah, no.
I've heard some people say increase 800. I mean,
Frisco, yeah,
if that happened. Hey, I'm out. Of course.
Yeah. My cousin, her Frisco rate went up 800.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm not going to bounce. I think the market is going to level itself out.
Yeah.
You know, but that's I'm happy y'all brought that up, because I'm like, if I get into management, which I am, I'm only managing higher end units that are going to produce. I'm not even going to waste my time on the lower end stuff. I'm happy y'all are schooling me on this shit. I'm like taking notes like, fuck that. You know?
Yeah, man. Let me tell you something. One of our properties in Houston, Houston's been tough. I've been looking at the numbers. I think I also talked about this last episode that I was here a couple of weeks ago. Man, it hurts. It really hurts. I couldn't sleep just having to send an email to my clients, telling him that he didn't cut rent on February, or because there are no bookings. And this is the worst part. I was looking at the performance of the unit. I was looking at the Price Labs market dashboard. And I was looking at the similar units to see how much they made, their occupancy, and everything. We were doing better, and still, that was not good in for rent.
I'm gonna help you out. You said you were doing better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in Houston is this. How big is this place?
2-bed, 2-bath condo.
1,000 square feet, maybe.
Okay, so this is what you have to do. The average Airbnb host doesn't know what we're talking about right now. When we're talking about getting long and midterm stays and using the pricing calculators to get those long-term stays, they have no clue what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be competing with them because Houston's oversaturated. Everybody has Airbnb. All my units in Houston, we're booked long-term and we're making money. So what you need to do is set up your calendar to get those long-term, midterm stays, and don't focus on the shorter-term stays.
Yeah.
Then you're going to start making rent. Because I've learned with Houston, if a market is oversaturated, that means you have to get more sophisticated than the average host. And with our platform and the people we've interviewed, we have access to get more sophisticated than the average host. And that's what you have to do. So your 2-bed, 2-bath, what I would do, I would make anything 30 days out, a minimum of 7 days, and I would raise all the prices that are 30 days out, and then give a 20% discount on anyone that stays 30 days or more. Then your calendar only appeals to people traveling long term, and they're willing to pay a premium, because if they're just scrolling through, they see this huge discount but don't realize they're paying just as much if they're paying long term.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I've been getting a little bit creative with the front pictures. That's been helping a little bit as well. Because that's the thing with so many listings nowadays. Shopping on Airbnb is like most of them they got. Everyone got that idea that they had to look nice.
Mhm.
Now, if your list looks like shit, sorry, no, people are not gonna stop on the list. You're looking for a place to party or do a mess, right? So don't take a picture from your phone. Get a professional photographer and get some kind of design. Now you got some design, but everyone nowadays is getting that kind of basic good looking design, wafer stuff from looks good. Or this property in Houston, man, this is originally uniquely designed. It looks pretty cool. One of the bedrooms looks like it's baseball design. The other one is basketball design. It's really unique, right? I'm trying
Mhm.
to showcase that unique design to make people scrolling down to stop and say, hey, this looks different. And I think that's another thing that from everything we're talking about, at the end of the day, you need to put yourself in the shoes of someone that is looking for stays on Airbnb. If you are listing your place and you're not getting as many bookings, do something. Open a new tab on your browser as incognito, and look for apartments in your area, and see where in which page are you coming up, and see if you're catching the attention among the rest of the list.
I'm gonna take it a step
Okay.
further. Oh, go ahead,
All
Mike.
right.
Are you?
I
Oh.
got three real quick.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
another thing I've noticed, I mean, this kind of goes without saying, but when you start a new listing, you know how they give you the boost. I don't know if you guys noticed, and I think maybe Sean or some other people have talked about this before. The boost and the way that it used to be for a new listing is not the same anymore. You can start a brand new unit on Airbnb tomorrow and still show up on page 17.
Yeah.
And I actually had this happen until we changed some things up for 2 different listings. But where I was going with that is that, so say when you go to AirDNA and you look at the top 10, I wish they had like top 20. That'd be great. For AirDNA, you can kind of see a common thing amongst all those units, right? And 9 times out of 10, it's the number of reviews. Those they may have been around legacy for a long time, or they just may have had high occupancy where they have huge turnover, but they just have a ton of reviews. So people are always going to gravitate to those. And also with the SEO and the way that Airbnb does that, once you get that traction, it kind of like creates a snowball effect when you have that many reviews. So there's that. The other thing I want to talk about, which I'm sure maybe you guys are thinking about, but logistically and accounting wise, it may make things challenging, is with sophistication and diversification and working in saturated markets is, one, what other services could you be offering as a management company or even as a self-host or self-managing person to your clients? Are you doing mid-stay cleans? Are you doing partnerships with people with ride shares, or are you doing pet and dog walking or sitting and things of nature? Because somebody actually asked me that on 2 different occasions. Somebody asked me about a cat sitter, and then somebody asked me about a dog sitter. And I'm like, hey, we don't have anybody directly in house, but I can refer you to these, 1, 2, 3 places that have had good reviews from past clients, so on and so forth. Or like I said, mid-stay cleaning. So all these kind of things to start adding more revenue, right? It's the same thing that the hotels do. They put the wine bottles in your and then you could do stuff like that too. I think Sean has a whole course on how to do upselling, but you can start to fold all those things into your units to start having more, like all those little bitty what do you call them, trickles or droplets of revenue add up over multiple units, right? And multiple clients. So that could definitely be something too.
Yeah, the easy ways to make money is over, right?
Yeah.
They're already there. You already got them in the unit at that point.
Yeah, I'm saying real quick. Make an Airbnb and then throw some furniture in it and make mad profit right away. Those days are over. Those days are freaking over.
And I've been telling that to Steve for a long time. He's like, yeah, I found this place. Let's throw some furniture and let's make some money. It's, like, it's not like that anymore, man. It's Airbnb is becoming a commodity where it's kind of everyone is offering the same service. It's like an airline. And I compare it all the time because that's the industry where I come from. I've been working for 10 years, right?
All right.
Unless you are very loyal to the points program from your airline, you're gonna get the one that is gonna take you there the fastest, and it's gonna be the cheapest, right?
So
now with Airbnb, how do you stand out? How do you make yourself the one that people want to pick up?
I will say it like our last episode with Alvin Cavalier said, you got to sell check boxes. You got to sell check boxes because they don't know wine is in your place until they get there. So therefore you can tell them it's there. Hell, they don't read. We know that they don't read. So either you're going to sell pictures. You can sell pictures all day. I can sell you a picture, but what you're doing with selling pictures is you're now in the algorithm. Who has the best pictures? But if I have the best pictures and the only Tesla charger or the only swimming pool, now I get the higher end guest. So in the state of in Little Rock, there's only like 5 people with hot tubs. The lady with the hot tub, she charging $300 a night. I'm like, shit, her mortgage is probably $600. Shit, she making all the money in the weekend. She chilling like, I got a hot tub. I spent $7,000 on that, but I'm getting all my money back. You know, so you got to start offering stuff that's not in your market, and then offering it, making sure it's in that checkbox. Because upselling, it works, but the people don't read shit, man. They ain't reading what's in your listing. They see
look
a picture.
They look at the first 3 pictures and that's it.
Like Steve said, like Steve even said, man, I clicked that pool button. If you ain't got no pool, you ain't standing out anyway. You ain't coming up for me, so you out. You know what I'm saying?
Let me get into a point with this that I was telling Steve the other day. I was like, man, I need to bring this up to Mike and to Mike to see if you've seen this happening. I raised the prices on some of my properties and we've been getting more bookings because I think there's people that are filtering like, I don't want to see anything cheaper than this because it's going to be crap.
Because they know the quality. Yep. But the thing is, if you do that now, you got to deliver. You got to deliver.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Exactly.
You can't be charging $800 at the ghetto motel, man.
And that's the problem, you know. I learned that the hard way. And here's some advice for everyone out there.
Sorry, spilling.
If you have some properties that you know they're not for elderly people, that they're just for young people, market that people. It is not wrong to say in your listing that there's gonna be noise. It's not wrong to say there's homeless people around your apartment that are harmless, but they're out there.
Sometimes you're actually
setting expectations. That's what it's all about, right?
Expectations. Yeah. For real, because that's where at the end of the day, that's how we end up hitting the most with the 1-star reviews. If you set the expectations from the start, there's always a way to phrase it. Like, you don't want to say this is a ghetto place and you're gonna get homeless people around you and you're gonna get shot. You want to say this is an up and coming area. You know, you want to put like.
And you might get shot a little bit. You might get shot a little bit. Or stabbed.
But you want to put it in a way where people know what they're gonna expect when they arrive. Since we've done that, we've only been getting 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
Before we did that, we were getting 1-star reviews because neighbors were loud, the area wasn't really nice, and whatever they were saying.
Yeah, and I think that goes back in if you're just trying to sell pictures. You sell pictures, your pictures can look like the Taj Mahal, but you're pulling up to,
Get outside, step outside the door.
Yeah, if you're pulling up to South Dallas, you got to be real with the guests. Like, it's an up and coming area. Pictures look nice, but it's a different area. Go ahead.
You remember when we very first started this podcast was like 5-6 years ago by now? It's been time
17. So 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago. And that was the early stages of Airbnb, right? And me and you would look through the listings and just laugh at some of the listings, right? Yeah. And remember that one that was like in Compton and it said a real hood experience.
Atlanta.
And it showed a couch, a dirty ass couch. This is where you're gonna sleep, right? And it said, look out the window and you can see a real drive-by. And it was like someone actually wrote the whole listing and they were charging like $500 a night for a real hood experience.
You know what though? That dude was in the game too early because now you can have experiences on Airbnb. Hey, shit, he would have been making millions, you know. If you wanted to make money off that, because I remember that dude, he basically had this whole ghetto house set up. He was like, you can, you know, it's a ghetto house, you know, it's a hood experience, you know.
Man, they did it in Brazil and they did it in Argentina. You get to go to the slums over here, and you know, this is like something like a curiosity, like experience. Hell, you can make money out of everything.
And that one I
People
showed
want
you
the
was
experience.
pretty much a brothel over there in New Braunfels, Texas. It was
Really?
pretty much a brothel, man. It was just like hot young girls. They were that's all the pictures was. The hot young girls all throughout the house, hanging at the pool. And it said, yeah, and you can stay here. The room was a shitty little room, you know, a little bitty, looked like a dorm room. But it said, and you could interact with the girls as much as you want. I was like, this is a fucking brothel, man. This is that back in the olden days. It's just the wild, wild west of Airbnb.
No, but I think what we're coming down to, you gotta cater to your guest avatar, right?
Yeah,
Who's
exactly.
comfortable in this location, right? If you're not comfortable, you know, like with my Arkansas, remember and we talked about back in the day. Remember when I first started my Arkansas unit, I was like, remember we talked about it in the cast. I'm like, man, it ain't in the hood, but if you walk around the corner, you might see some shit go down. So I'm like, you know, and I was like, well, damn, I don't want to list it, but I listed it. And it worked perfect because I said how I quoted it. It was, it's in an older community where the neighbors will speak to you, you know, but I did get comments saying it's a great neighborhood, but if you walk down the street, it ain't, you might not, you know, I had some people from Canada. They were honest. They were like, it's not a neighborhood I would go jog in, you know, other than that, but you know, and then I think I showed Mike a picture the other day. You know, I put the Tesla chargers in there. I put it in the mastermind group. I put Tesla chargers in there and I was like, people with Teslas pulling up to the hood, you know, they don't, you know, but I think it's starting to reshape the community, you know, and just find little things like that, like things that aren't offered and then offer them to your guests.
And you know, if you try to get every guest at your property, at the end of the day, it may backfire to you because that's the thing. You may say it's okay to narrow it down to to group.
If every person is your client, you don't have a client.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we came up with, Steve. It's like, you know, these units in Lower Greenville, these are for young people. We can't host, you know, middle-aged or elderly people here. We just can't, because neighbors are gonna be smoking pot, and they're gonna be loud, and they're gonna be partying. It reminds me of myself going to hostels, right? I always put it this way, and you guys know I traveled to 60 countries. I used to travel a lot. I was younger, and I love to travel. I was like, I used to go to hostels and sleep in a bedroom with 20 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's always one drunk asshole that will wake you up at 3 a.m. coming back from the bar. When I stopped being that drunk asshole, I stopped going to hostels because it was me. So then I started going to hotels. That's the thing. So there's a market for each place, and there's an avatar.
There is. You have to know, and you have to know that avatar. If you don't know that avatar, it's gonna come back and bite you in the ass. You know it. And I don't know. We might have to put this part on the Patreon. But I'm gonna say, me and my wife have both noticed at one of our places in Dallas, it's better served to men than women because of the neighborhood and the check-in instructions and things of that nature. So I have to start putting things in to cater it to men, because men don't complain, but women coming by themselves and with their friends, they're like, I ain't trying to stay here. You know, so, you know, and there's one, you know, I think me and a past guest, we talked about it. Me, the past guest, and Steve talked about it. But, you know, you have to know those things. Is it better served to women or to men? You know, that's another thing. So, you know, just understanding your neighborhood and understanding who's going to come to that neighborhood, you know, that's, you know, and the profile picture goes into that as well.
And not to discriminate, but, you know, and that's the whole point of like, you know, fact finding and asking questions and all that kind of stuff about, you know, the reason why you're here and so on and so forth, is that you can self-screen those guests and you can decide. And you may not say, hey, you shouldn't stay here. Obviously, you want to word it in a different way, but you have the autonomy. You are the host you don't have to accept every guest. Now, granted, if you decline too many in a row, then that starts to mess up your SEO and so on and so forth. But I think that's where a lot of people fall into the trap or get into trouble is they just accept everything because they need to get as much money as possible, right?
Yeah.
And that's not what you should be doing.
And I don't even feel like you have a target avatar if you're doing that. That means you need to change something in your listing. So like, I was reading the book by Michael Malkovich. I don't know how to say his last name. He's dude who wrote Profit First, and he has a bunch of good business books. Basically, in one of his books, he said he was talking to this black lady. She had owned a business, and she was catering her business to everyone. And she became a billionaire, a multi-millionaire, after she just learned to cater her business to black women, because they are the one who resonated with the information she was given. And he said, it shocked me. He goes, you have to discriminate in business if you want to be successful. You have to. Like I think it's, who is it? Ferrari or Lamborghini? We don't make commercials because the people who drive our cars don't watch TV. You have to discriminate. We're gonna have to put this on Patreon.
It's a different word, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you have to, I'm not catering to you. You know what I mean? You don't fit my guest avatar, so you have to do that in business, man. You have to.
It's like we can do it for you, but you won't be satisfied. You won't be best served. Like that's the best way to put it, I think.
It's really hard for a guest and decline a booking. It's really hard because you get Airbnb and you see on the right side how much you're gonna make for this day. It's hard. It's hard to say no, to hit the decline, but yeah, sometimes it's better to say no.
Yeah, I hit that decline on your ass real quick if I see that you ain't about to be the one for me, man. I hit that decline like
it's funny though because
I'm dealing with a guest right now. I should have declined, man, but it was them 30 days. So I'm like, man, I'm booked. Man, these ghetto-fied man, these people got bikes all in the front yard. They're parking cars in the grass. I'm like, shit, man. What part of the gutter are y'all from? But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I mean, I think, when you're able to like do that filtering, I mean, it offers for a better experience. I mean, on both sides, right? Because then there's not any kind of animosity or, missed expectations or, things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I have written here before I forget, not to pivot from the conversation or that topic particularly, is back to adding value, but also differentiating and being unique in the market and being strategic, I guess, is I think the ultimate play for short-term rentals is to operate as if Airbnb never existed. So that means your marketing strategy, your everything else, your brand, your tailoring, your communications should all work in an effort towards getting you to that point to where, Airbnb is just, just kind of, when it's there, I can use it. If not, that's fine too. So what that means is in these markets like Houston, and I think that's the trap, right? Or the golden handcuffs with Airbnb and just other OTAs as well, is that your acquisition cost is ultimately is very, very low, right? And it's automated. You don't have to do anything after you list. Now, granted, we know you have to do other things like pricing strategy and all this other stuff, but ultimately you don't have to do anything once it's listed. The people just come to you. And so where you have to be strategic in those markets that are saturated is you have to start building relationships with other companies so that you can start to build leads and really double down on the direct bookings. Because the things I think about is in any market, Houston, Dallas, I need to be making connections and relationship with realtors because they're working with people that are coming into the city, right? And need somewhere to stay. Builders, they're building brand new homes, and as they're being built, those people need to stay somewhere. Movers, same scenario. They know when these individuals are coming into town. Hey, they know so many months in advance, so on and so forth. And you can set up a referral system, or you can set up, something of that nature to be able to do that. I said realtors already.
Pimps.
And then just obviously other hosts and other hosts as well, and your own network. I think because I think the more you talk to people about what you're doing, then they can connect you with other people. So, did I say realtors?
Did I say pimps? They know. Hey, they got the ear to the street. I heard a thing one time. I'm sweating more than a pimp with one hoe. That's some sweating right there, right? So in other words, y'all need multiple hoes out there, not just the one hoe being Airbnb.
I mean,
right?
yeah.
You need multiple hoes.
You need multiple streams of income.
To go get you that money. Because my money is funny. Sorry. It's the drink.
Oh man, yeah,
you got Airbnb go down, then you got the other ones working for you. Look,
Look. I know it's good to have a bottom hoe, but you don't want that to be your only hoe.
You don't want the only hoe. I'm sweating more than a pimp with one hoe, man. That's just not good. I heard Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg said that, so he's the legend. Legend of Snoop.
Yeah. It's like when Myka was talking about being rich or being wealthy. He reminded me of Chris Rock quote when he said, rich is some shit you can lose with a crazy summer and a drug habit.
Chris Rock is the GOAT, man. I love some Chris Rock.
Him, man.
Chris Rock is the GOAT. But yeah, I think this is a real good conversation tonight, y'all. This is really good, man. I think we've probably had enough fair share of drinks tonight.
Mike, you need to tell the guests about our meetup coming up. I know this show might go past it, but plus the future meetups coming up, Live Let Thrive meetups. You can tell the guests all about that fun stuff.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna drop this meetup. I'm gonna drop this episode way before the meetup. Okay. Maybe I drop it on Monday. I'll see. I'll drop this bitch on Sunday, and so everybody can see. Go ahead.
Drop it like it's hot.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, we'd love to invite each and every one of you to come join our local meetup here in Dallas, STR Dallas meetup, hosted by Live Let Thrive. We're developing Live Let Thrive University, an opportunity for STR operators at all levels to be able to learn and elevate their practice, gain resources, tools that they can use in their everyday operations, and really be able to have the strong networking piece, which I think everyone is looking for, especially in person, especially with all these virtual events that are going on. So definitely love to have you all. It's going to be March 10th in Dallas in Bishop Arts at 6:30 p.m. And we'd love to see you there.
Could you do it one more time with a lot less
a lot less Sorry, I'm messing with man, y'all want to edit that
out. LLT, we don't do no editing. We dropped it raw, man.
We raw dogging. Now, if you listen to me on the show, I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? I keep saying that all the time. That's my crutch, you know what I'm saying? Anyway,
a minute. I have been off of podcasting for a while, so I lost the knack a little bit. I'm a little rusty. So
you're a little rusty? All right, we'll give you that.
Hey man, but
you touched on something though. Live Let Thrive University, man. That's coming up.
Yeah, LLC unit.
We're gonna be a lot less. We're gonna be a lot more sober when we teach you guys stuff.
Yeah, LLT University is coming, man. This is the whole LLT family that will be there to present it to you. But yeah, we decided, man. We've been well over 200 hours, and it was just time to just really start putting stuff out there to bring value to you guys, where you guys can come in and actually just meet the whole crew of what makes LLT run. And we want to definitely thank y'all for continuing to listen to us. We know we ain't like other podcasts, we get a little wild, but I think that's what makes us fun though. We let the average person can do it. You don't have to be some dude in a suit and tie who has to, the average person can do it. Anybody can do it. So we'll definitely be bringing that to y'all, and thank y'all for continuing to listen. And
Fede, you gonna fly in, Fede, March 10th?
No, I wish I could, man. My tourist visa expired. I'm waiting for my other visa to get through. My case got approved, so hopefully in a couple of months I get over there. legally. But
He'll be here for the next one.
yeah, definitely.
And with all the shit going on, I ain't trying to be in the air right now anyway. It's too much shit going on in the world right now. So, stay 10 toes down. Stay 10 toes down.
One thing, if you can do, guys, you can book on an Airbnb in Ukraine. No fees, no commission. All the money is going to the host. The local host already booked a short stay for the people over there. I was in Ukraine in 2017. Those are beautiful people, wonderful people. They're going through a tough situation. Not getting into politics or anything, but what's going on over there is tough. It's not fair. So if you want to help another host, you can just book for 2-3 nights. All the money's going straight to them.
That's facts.
I'm doing that this weekend. Yeah, absolutely. Because that could very well be us. People don't think about that because people think, people are entitled. They say, oh, that'll never happen in the United States. But you never know.
Man.
So
we don't know. And another thing, if you are doing it, try to do it with an experienced host, not somebody who just set up a listing yesterday in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Don't, cause I was in the Airbnb groups and they were like, bro, it's a bunch of scam and shit going on. So do it to somebody who has reviews and help out as much as you can.
As soon as you do it, ask them what the Wi-Fi code is. Might gotta think about that one. There's bombs going off. Why are you asking me this? Sorry.
No.
Sorry, man.
Oh, man.
That's my job on the show. I bring levity.
this host wasn't responsive. I don't believe this.
Yeah, 1 star.
1-star review. 1-star review. They didn't give me the chicken instructions.
God.
Man, wait. I sent to my wife. Our anniversary is in 10 days. So I sent a picture to her after I booked. Let me find it. I say, like, hey, I can't hold the surprise. We're going on vacation. So I said, listen, your booking for Kiev is confirmed. And she's like, oh, I thought we were actually going on a trip. I got excited. I was like, man, now I need to book
man,
this episode will not age well.
No.
We keep it real. We're having fun.
I need to put a disclaimer before you listen to this.
We love the Ukraine.
Yeah, we do, man. But yeah, I hate that's going on. But yeah, definitely try to donate if you can. And prayers up for them. And thank y'all for continuing to listen, man. It's been awesome. And we'll definitely be dropping that LLT University. So thank y'all. And come to the meetup in Dallas. Definitely come to the meetup. We are out.
Peace.
See you there.
Later.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.